moderator didn't show up. I don't know. Something happened. So my friend Christian, who I've known for a really long time, is stepping in, but he loves it. So just bear with us as we're improvising this.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about?
Hi! We're so excited to be here, and we're going to take questions, obviously, in a moment, but Christian just wants to chat with me for a second, beforehand.
Oh yeah, so, all right, I guess we're not going to talk about what we talked about at breakfast, but...
No.
Okay, so, you've shot a lot in Toronto. In fact, we met on one of the first movies that you shot here, X-Men.
X-Men, yes.
And so, what do you do? You love Toronto. She loves Toronto.
I love
she loves shooting. Like every time she looks at the script, it's like shooting in Toronto, or isn't it? It's a total deal. So how many movies have you shot here?
I kind of lost track, but I know I've shot the X-Men movie, the first one here. Don't Say a Word we shot here. I shot Hemlock Grove here for 3 years. I think a couple more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what do you have in the can right now?
That I forgot too, but I did a whole bunch of indies for the last couple of years. So I was filming Redemption, Blacklist Redemption, earlier this year. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching that and supporting us. And then I've been doing a bunch of films that are starting to come out, that have come out, that are in the can just now. I did one with Ron Perlman that's coming out. I did another one with Cuba Gooding Jr. I have tattoos everywhere, short hair, really fun character. Great. We shot that in New Orleans. And then a film with Giancarlo Esposito and Josh Duhamel that's about to come out in a couple of days, I believe.
What's that called?
It's, that one is, well, just keep changing titles. It's very confusing. I think now it's called The Show. It was called This Is Your Death when we were filming it, which is much more uplifting as a title, obviously.
You tend towards emancipated women. You tend you tend to get cast as sort of very driven women. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I don't know that I would call them driven, but I would certainly call them strong.
Okay.
And I guess I gravitate towards those characters, and I also, I suppose, they always say that 99% is typecasting, and I don't look like a wallflower, I don't believe. I'm very tall, and my shoulders are broad, and I just look like I can probably handle most guys if they came my way in a dark alley, and so I guess that's how I get cast. I don't know.
So many places to go with that one. But you're not from the U.S.
No, I was born and raised in the Netherlands. Thank you. And Amsterdam is a gorgeous city. And I believe that they're talking to a lot of the Dutch engineers right now in Texas because of the flooding, and because the Netherlands, I'm sure, as a lot of you know, is a country that is largely below sea level, and so the Dutch have been trying to fight the water or incorporate the water into their lives for a long time. So they've made canals, and and I guess that's what they're suggesting for places like Houston, which is largely made out of concrete at this point, and the water has no place to go. So it's been a really interesting journey coming to the United States. I love living in New York, where I live on the East Coast, and I love the fact that I get to travel all over the world and meet wonderful people like you who supported me over time, and I really appreciate that. I'm very grateful. And it's just been really exciting just to see how the industry progresses, how all of a sudden television is having a complete comeback or a new resurgence or whatever you want to call it. So there's fantastic material, great parts for women. I mean, we've all seen Wonder Woman, of course, so it's great to see that that's happening in our business. So it's just, I think we're in a really good time period.
What do you guys want to talk about?
We can take questions. How's that? Yes, with your hat on there.
Hi.
Hi.
Great, long-time fan like everybody else here, I'm sure. And we love that you love Toronto. Just two quick things, if you could comment on Logan and seeing Jackman's run come to an end. I know that was a big part. I know there was a partner they cut out that was mentioned, Jean Grey. And also, you directed in 2012, Bringing in Bobby. Talk about that. Are you going to maybe try that again down the road?
Yeah, I mean, first about Hugh Jackman. Hugh is such a talented actor, and it's impossible to imagine anybody ever as Wolverine other than him. Logan, he's just, that's who he is. He embodies that part, that character. He did it so incredibly well, and I think everybody's going to be so sad that that journey is over with, but he's left such a legacy behind him, so that's amazing. And I feel really grateful for all the times that I've been able to work with him over the span of so many years and so many movies. Bringing up Bobby was an amazing experience. I certainly want to do that again. It's not easy to get films off the ground. It's hard to find the money and the resources and all of it, but that certainly has never stopped me. I've always liked a good hurdle, I suppose, so I will continue down that path at some point. Thankfully, acting has kept me very busy over the last couple of years and at the moment still, so I'm just taking it as it comes and see whatever comes next. But I'm always developing material and looking for projects. Thank you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You, yes. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3. How's that?
I'm a longtime fan. It's an honor to meet you. I just have a question. If you are Jean Grey for life, who would you choose? Hughes Wolverine or?
If I have to choose between these two men,
Yeah, to be with.
I take both. No? Is that wrong? Next.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, you.
Okay, sorry, just checking. One question that's first off, thank you for being here. We're all happy that you're here. And one question that's on my mind is that I'm really curious to know what you think about Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones. She now plays Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse, and she'll continue playing her in other films, I believe. Have you ever, have you seen her performance? What do you think of it? And how do you think of her portrayal of the character?
I think she's amazing. She reached out to me, which I thought was so lovely, when she got cast as Jean Grey and asked for whatever, so she complimented me on my performances and that she, whatever pointers I had for her, and I said, you're amazing. Just follow your gut like you always seem to do, and you're going to be incredible, and that's exactly what she's done. So I'm really happy to see the work that she's delivered both on Game of Thrones and on as Jean Grey. She's a great contribution.
Awesome.
Sir?
So we all know that you've played a variety of roles, some heroes and some villains. Is there a role that you would prefer? Do you prefer playing a villain like Xenia Onatopp or more of a hero like Jean Grey or Eve Rothwell?
It's hard. I guess I get very greedy when it comes to these characters, and I fall in love with all of them too. There's something liberating sometimes about playing a villain or a villainess, because the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want to do with these characters, and there's no rules or regulations about how you play them. And then, some of the characters I played on Nip Tuck and or How to Get Away with Murder, Eve, as you said. These have just been such great, strong women that I've really loved embodying them as well. So I like the fact that it's just been an unpredictable journey with big studio films, small. You're not the moderator, no. Oh, okay. We don't know anyone missing, so we're just looking. Right, everything's good?
Yeah.
Excellent. Whoa! Oh, I wasn't speaking loudly enough. No.
Ma'am? Yes. Yes. Say your name, please.
Hi, I'm Kalina, and I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to be able to see you in person. You are a great inspiration for fellow Amazons out there. Having had this fight for a really long time, and I really have enjoyed your work, and I really enjoyed your episode that you did for Star Trek Next Generation.
Thank you.
And I wondered if you would speak to us about your experiences working with those actors on that show. Of course, you got to work with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that's the amazing part, is the fact that I met Patrick Stewart during the episode. It was just one episode, The Perfect Mate. And when that came about, I had no idea what was going to come in the future, and that I was going to work with Patrick so many times again after that. I was going to be cast in an X-Men movie. I was just trying to stumble through the lines, which were very hard for me at the time, because I was practically fresh off the boat. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, like I said, and I come to the States when I was 22 years old, And even though I learned English in school, it still wasn't as good. And then all of a sudden I had to say all these Ulrika Volt, whatever, weird lines of dialogue. And I'm like, oh. And the rewrites kept coming in really early in the morning as I would drive to, which I could barely do too, to work and trying to memorize these lines. So it's been a long journey since then to where I am now. Very, very fun as an Amazon. Yes. Yeah.
What are the challenges, what are the differences for you doing television versus features?
Well, television's just so much faster. I mean, when you think about it, you shoot an episode in about 7 days or something, mostly 7 days, sometimes 8, 9, if you're lucky. And a film, and that's about an hour almost of screen time. A film, you can get anywhere between a month or 6 months for an hour and a half. So you just get so much more time to prep, so much more time to film. And with episodic, I mean, as you're filming one episode, the next one comes in, and so as you're still learning your lines and practically trying to get through the scenes, you have to get involved in the next group of scenes for the episode after. It's really fast.
And then how do you know where your character's going on TV?
You don't. On TV, you don't know what you're signing up to. And the best example that I have for that is Nip Tuck. I don't know if anybody has seen Nip Tuck on the... Thank you. When I signed on for Nip Tuck, they had done one season, and Ryan Murphy approached me and said, I'd love for you to play this character, Ava Moore. And I said, well, who is she? What does she do? And he goes, well, she's a life coach. She's going to come into this family. She's going to offer her help, but I'm not sure exactly where it's going yet. And because I was already a fan of his work and I thought he was so brilliant, I said, okay, I'm signing up. I don't know where this is going, but it sounds amazing. And so he gave me such great material to work with, but it wasn't until about 2 weeks, right before the end of the season, that he said, I want to sit down with you because I have a great idea. And I go, okay. And he goes, Ava Moore is a man. And I'm like, but I don't, what? No, I played her as a woman the whole time. How's this going to work? And he said, trust me, it's going to work. And it did. But that's sort of the example of how on television you don't know what you're going to play, what you signed up for, what they're going to... A film, you have the script, you have the whole blueprint, it's there. You know what you're going to play, what you're going to be asked to play, what your scenes are, who you're with, the whole journey, your whole arc. But in TV, you kind of have to just give into it and see where it leads you.
And she can't talk about it with her friends, even though they're watching the show.
And they want to know everything.
And she won't tell me anything. And I was like, really? Anyway, whatever. Let's even sort of on the right.
Yeah, sure.
Has there ever been any sort of funny occurrences on set that you really found hilarious or enjoyable?
Oh, never. We never have fun on sets.
There are pictures.
Well, it's that thing of whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of thing. We can't talk about it, but yes, there's lots of practical jokes depending on who you work with all the time, and you have to keep it light. I mean, shows like Hemlock Grove, which we filmed here, I mean, for the people who saw it, it's, it's dark and there's lots of blood and gore and all sorts of stuff happening, so you have to keep it light. And yeah, we do make videos and do silly stuff in between, and yeah, crack jokes and all. It's important.
Jimmy Marsden is an amazing mimic.
Yeah, James Marsden, who plays Cyclops, is a fantastic imitator, and that's really funny until he imitates you.
But it's really funny for the people watching it.
Yeah, and I go, I don't talk like that. I don't act like that. What are you talking about? So yeah, that's very fun to see.
Black Hand. Zorro. What's your name, sir?
Sorry, it's not Zorro. Thank you for coming to Toronto. Big fan.
Thank you.
I read online that you were designated by the United Nations the Ambassador of Integrity in 2008. That's quite a title.
Yeah, that's quite a title.
And are you still involved with that?
Yeah, I got involved with them in 2008 and then went to Bali, and we had it's all about, working with them on corruption-related issues. And it started around the time when I was doing Taken and dealing with, the topics of Taken, of human trafficking and all of that. And so that sort of came about in how do we deal with issues like that? What is the best way to bring that to people's attention? And then over time I've worked with them, most recently in a different capacity where I worked with still corruption-related topics but as it relates to animal poaching, which is now one of the biggest trades in the world. So that was a really exciting panel I was part of, with a big group of people who were all much more knowledgeable about the subject than I am. But to be at the UN is very impressive, and it was really important for me to be there because I've been such an animal lover my whole life and believe in animal rights, and so just to know how much money is being made on poaching, how many animals are being slaughtered, how many species we're about to lose as a result of that, and other reasons. So yeah, it's been really interesting to work with them over time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know there's a little kid right there. Yes, we see you. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's a good question. I think we should make one up. Who would you, if you could be a superhero, who would you, if it didn't exist, did you have one can you think of one that you could make up? No? We could write a script together about one.
Sounds good. Let's go on the left side. You two are right next. Well, yes. Then we'll go to you. Sorry. What's your name, sir?
Hi, I'm Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming to Toronto and for having here. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I'd like to ask you what was that, particularly the fact that you were launching a new version of Bond, and so of course there was great amount of talk about that.
There was more talk about, actually, those are great questions. There was so much talk about this because I believe it was an 8-year period where there had been no Bond films, and now Pierce Brosnan was introduced as the new Bond. And so there was so much anticipation. We were filming it in England, and of course as an English franchise, there was so much interest from the press. In the first week of filming, when I had maybe filmed for one day, we held a press conference for 400 people of the press to talk about the characters. And I thought, oh my God, I barely know who I'm playing. This is so much pressure. And that sort of set the tone for how we were gonna have to deal with the rest of the filming schedule. And they set up really for the press just mood boards and storyboards and wardrobe to look at, and they could come on designated days to look at some of the scenes that we were filming. And so I felt a great deal of pressure just because I had grown up watching Bond movies. My dad was a big lover, and so I had seen how Bond women had been portrayed in the past, and I felt as a woman who'd been raised by a very strong mother and grandmother and a long line of strong female characters, I thought, this is a really important moment for me to make sure that this is a different type of Bond woman that we've seen. And so it's really turned out to be one of the biggest learning curves I think I've had in my life, not only as the character that I was playing, because I had to take big risks and play a pretty outrageous character, killing men between my thighs, details like that. Yeah, superpower, there you go. But yeah, overall, it was just, it really enabled me to start a whole career, and then I just had to fight to make sure that I wasn't typecast as the woman who killed men between her thighs from that moment on, and start doing different things. But yeah, it was an amazing journey, and I really loved the whole experience. How difficult sometimes also it was, but yeah, it was, I just went for it.
Nice.
Sir, yes. Yes, you. When who's questioning whether or not it's you? Yes. Okay, well, after you, can the man in front of you can speak as well. Okay, go for it.
So it was fun, in the first X-Men movie, it was a funny exchange between Logan and Cyclops, when Logan says, really go out in this get up, what would you prefer? Yellow spandex? With that in mind, actually, the first passage you read saw the original comic book drawing, you think to yourself, no way am I wearing that on camera.
Well, some of those comic books, as you've all seen, I mean, those outfits are pretty risque and outrageous. But we didn't go that way, as you could see, because Bryan Singer really wanted to make sure. That's why he cracked that, that joke is in the movie. He really wanted to make sure that this was done in a much more realistic manner than we'd seen prior to that. So no big nipples sticking out of suits and whatever you'd seen in some of the. Well, it's true, like the Batman movies and all that were hyper exaggerated. He didn't want to go for that, so that's what we ended up doing, playing real people with real problems who happen to be superheroes. Don't we all want to be that?
Yes.
Hi, so you've done a number of pieces of work for TV, blockbusters, indies, and streaming. What are your thoughts about doing stage work, especially since you are a New Yorker?
I love the idea, thank you. That's a great question. The only stage experience I've had was in Los Angeles a long time ago, and it was not a particularly good experience because we put a play together ourselves that had only been performed one time before that in 1964 for one night, and then it was booed off the stage. And so we had a similar experience when we did it in LA, except for it was a 3-act play, and in LA, people just, no offense, because Christian's from LA. Yeah. But they want to just, anything that fits between dinner and before they go to bed, so maybe an hour at the most, but they don't want to sit through a 3-act play. Well, our set fell in the 2nd act and fell apart, and actors kept disappearing. I mean, it was just it was a disaster. So I have to try to get my feet wet and do it the real way. One time, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I have 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Who is your inspiration?
Oh, I love your question so much. Thank you. It's actually a French artist, a woman named Louise Bourgeois. She was born and raised in France, and then she moved to New York, and where she was an artist and lived until she died in her 90s, not too long ago. She was just somebody who really followed her heart and didn't go in anybody else's footsteps. So she really was a very unique individual who made the most beautiful art. And I've always liked that because I want to be my own person and I don't really want to take examples. And I think that's the greatest lesson in life is just, who you are is unique, and that should be enough. And you shouldn't try to emulate other people or try to be just like anybody else. Why? I mean, isn't that the whole point of being born as you? And so she really embodies that to me.
And my other question is, by any chance, would you date a fan?
By that fan, you? Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure I'm available, but thank you so much for the offer.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Famke, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes, Jean Grey and many of the TV shows. But what I really want to ask is, as a successful woman, what kind of advice would you give to other women, especially in the workplace? How do we command respect, make sure our voices are heard and we respected?
And really that goes back to, it's a great question, thank you, to the same thing I just said about my favorite artist. I really believe that there's nobody like you. And in the beginning, in everybody's career, no matter what they do, all the things that make you different are going to be all the things that people are saying are not going to be good enough about you because you're not like this person or that person. But it's, in the end, well, who you were born and put on this planet, that's the unique you that is going to create your own path, and never stop believing in that. You just have to have faith that you can accomplish whatever it is you set out to do. And I think that's one of the most beautiful lessons I've learned about living in the United States, because as a Dutch person, we didn't grow up with those dreams. We were just, whatever we are, however we were born is sort of what we were supposed to be content with. Whereas in the United States, it feels like you're allowed to dream, and I'm sure the same in Canada, you're allowed to dream really big. And so, however big or small that is for you, that's really not relevant here. I think what's important is just that you stay true to your journey and what you want to do in your life, and your voice will be heard. I believe that.
Go over to the left. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Olivia. My question for you is two questions. What was your favorite part of playing Jean Grey and your least favorite? And also, what was it like working close to Viola Davis?
Oh, great questions. Well, Jean Grey, I just, not only do I love Jean Grey, the fact that she was such a strong female character in a franchise or in a world of comic books where we'd seen a lot of very strong male characters, but until the X-Men series, we didn't really see that many strong female characters. So to be one of them, I was very proud of the fact that then I got to turn into the Phoenix was, even better, that even though I died, I came back and resurrected. And then as the Phoenix, when I died, I resurrected yet again. So, and then Viola Davis, I mean, where to begin? What a powerhouse of a woman, of a performer, of a female role model. Such a great show, fantastic writing, and yeah, the character that I played really ended up being something very special. So I'm very grateful.
Hey, I'm Kyle. Just wanted to ask, what was the most challenging part of your career aside from overcoming language barriers?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know if everybody heard, but what was challenging about, the barriers, overcoming barriers in my career other than the language barrier. I think I've not made it easy for myself on a certain level because I started out as a model. Then I went back to school to study, thinking if I take some time and I go back to school and then I become an actress, that stigma of model will no longer be there. And then, of course, in my first audition, somebody said, "Oh yeah, I remember when you were a model." And I thought, all right, so much for that. Where did you go to school? I went to Columbia University in New York. Thank you. And then I got cast, obviously, in the Bond movie, and now I had to overcome the stigma of being a Bond girl, which is a pretty hefty stigma to overcome. So once I sort of overcame that, barely overcame that stigma and tried to do some independent movies and worked with Woody Allen and Robert Altman, whatever. And then I was cast in the X-Men movies. Now I had to overcome the stigma of being a superhero. So at some point you kind of embrace it all and just go, you know what, this is my path. I have some idea of what I want this to be and where I want it to go. And whether I succeed or not, I will see, but it's going to be a great learning curve, and that's what it's been.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go over here, okay? So go for it.
I think it's amazing that you got to work with Viola Davis. I love Annalise and Eve, and I was just wondering what was your favorite Annalise and Eve scene to film?
Oh, really good question. Annalise and Eve from How to Get Away with Murder. There's so many fantastic scenes between the two of them because there was so much history of two characters who had known each other from a long time ago, who are now in very different parts of their lives. And Annalise, who's a very strong character, who really gets her way most of the time, and now all of a sudden somebody comes back into her life who's kind of an equal in the way that she hasn't. On the show, you don't see her being surrounded by that as much. And so there were just lots of beautiful moments where I really thought that the two of them just really had to hash it out of what had happened, in the past and where they were in this moment, and the sadness and the beauty of, having to move on and all of it. So it's hard to pick one scene. Did you have a favorite one?
I have a lot of favorites, but your last scene when you had to say goodbye, that was...
Right, that was heartbreaking, having to say goodbye, yeah.
Okay, sir, in the black. Yep, there you go. Hello, stand on up. Thank you.
Two-part question. First, what's it like working with Shane Spader? And number two, what Brett say Susan Harker to say goodbye?
I don't think Scotty Hargrave needs any saving. I think she's pretty, I mean, she may have ended up in jail, but you know, that woman, I would put all my bets on that she's going to be fine with or without Red. I don't know that we're going to go anywhere with that anymore, but it's a very good question. But I don't think that this is a woman who needs any man to take care of her at all. I think she's quite capable. And James Spader has done such an amazing job as Red. I mean, for all those seasons and continuing, of course. He's made it very strong. He really makes that show, puts a lot of weight on it, and I'm very impressed by his acting.
Sir? Yes. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
You
You too.
I was wondering, what was your favorite and least favorite scenes to act as Jean when you were making this movie?
As Jean Grey? Well, we had some challenging ones just based on weather. When we were filming X-Men, we ended up, this was during the second X-Men, I believe, we had to go to Kananaskis, and the temperatures were, I mean, it was so cold. We all didn't look like a bunch of whales. Is amazing, because we had like heat packs strapped to every part of us just to not freeze while we were filming. But with all of that, it's always kind of fun too. I mean, we were kind of sliding down little hills in the meanwhile and all that kind of stuff. But the temperatures make it just, I find acting with a frozen face is not my favorite. That anything is audible, that anybody even knows what I'm saying is a miracle, because you know, you just can't speak anymore. So that was one of the challenges. The best parts about the X-Men movies, or playing Jean Grey, is just the group of actors I got to act with for all those years. They're such great people, such fantastically talented, you know, group of people, and different directors. We've worked with Bryan Singer, of course, who has really made that franchise, and so it's been amazing.
Sir.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, are you like Donnie Wahlberg and Will Smith and other A-list actors moving into the producer's seat to start doing projects of your own? And if so, what genre and what type of stories are you going to move into?
Yeah, I would love to do more of that too. It's great. I wrote, directed, and produced one feature, and I certainly hope to be involved in other areas, whether that be in the capacity of a producer or director or writer, whatever it is. It would be fantastic. There's so many stories out there that need to be told. Mostly I hope that they connect with other people. I mean, it's not so much that I have one particular genre in mind, it's more that I hope that I can find material that is meaningful to me and hopefully to other people as a result.
Ma'am? Yes.
If you could steal a role from somebody in a movie that was made before you were born, what movie would it be for the role and why?
Oh my God, I love your question. I want to steal every part from the 1930s. All these movies that were made, like Bringing Up Baby and the Philadelphia Story and Gone with the Wind, and you name it. I mean, these are all classical old movies where these were fantastically beautiful, glamorous women who had these incredibly complex parts and were allowed to be funny and smart and beautiful and interesting. That's what I would steal, every single one of them.
Okay, ma'am, over here. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, that's a really good question too. I love that question. Well, it would have to be a strong woman. We have to start with that. Somebody who's really made a mark in history, like a Marie Antoinette or you know, somebody diabolical probably. Because why would I play a normal person for a change? That would be so weird. Or like even like I mean, not Amelia Earhart because we've already seen it, but somebody like that, somebody who's really changed, you know, what a path for women, who's really created something incredible for women. So I'm going to think about that because I always look. I love your question. What a great question. I'm always looking for that. So if you have any ideas of somebody who inspires you, let me know.
We can do 2 more questions. So, ma'am. Yes.
Thanks so much for coming. It's so exciting to see you here. You've played so many women ranging on the scale from good to evil and everything in between. How much responsibility do you feel as an actor for the impact or influence that your role has on the people who look up to you? And what happens when your personal values or what you hope to portray is in conflict with what you're being asked to portray in the film?
That's one of the best questions I've ever heard. So, it really is. It's fantastic because it's something I struggle with all the time. I've been in my fair share of horror movies and movies where people are being shot and, you know, and I'm very aware of the world that we live in and how much violence there is and the potential of movies really playing a big part in that. I have to separate myself, you know, on a daily basis from, you know, this is who I am and what my values are as a woman in this world, and this is my job and what I do and the characters I portray. And if I put too many labels on that character, or if I restrict that too much by saying, well, I only want to play women who are, you know, then I would just end up playing myself, and I can't do that. But so it is a struggle sometimes, because there are characters where I feel that, you know, they're too violent, or there are too many parts about it that don't sit well with me, but as a character, they're really exciting to play, and I mean, look at life. I mean, it's very often a fair depiction of who some people are. Just because, you know, we all want things to be different doesn't mean that we can't portray the people who have been evil or who are evil. It's just part of our lives. We only hope that the audiences are not going to use that as inspiration. I mean, that would be terrible. But I do feel a responsibility as a woman, and that's why I try to pick strong characters to play, because I do come from a long line of strong women, and I have 2 very strong sisters, so strong that I barely survived in my in my household, and was very shy and never spoke basically until I left Holland because they were so strong. But you know, so I try to bring that to every character that I play, and hope that at least for the younger women who are watching that, it's something that they can look at and say that, you know, we as women, or we as young women, we can only hope to, you know, continue and go through life as another strong woman and really pave our own way.
We have just one more, sir.
Hi. First, I just want to say thank you for one of the reasons why I spent one of my days here. But I was also wondering, going back to your request for your concept being typecast, can you tell us what, like, any major roles you turn down? My understanding is I followed the typecast.
I've turned things down, but nothing that I'm not sure that you've known of anything where you go like, oh, that you turned down? Oh my God, what were you thinking? It's more that you probably would have told me to turn it down too. It was just a time after, especially after the Bond movie, where a lot of scripts came in where I was running around with a gun, and I just said, no, I need to really try to reinvent this moment and do something different with it. And I held out, and it took a while, and it started nagging at me going, oh my God, am I ever going to work again? But then I really ended up going on a different journey for a while, but mostly doing independent films. And I've noticed that, you know, the independent films is where I have my biggest personal growth as an actor, because I get to play all these fantastic characters. The other side of that is that most of the time people don't end up seeing these movies. I mean, even I go sometimes when I'm at home and I go, okay, I want to watch something, and I am surfing to see what's available, and I go, wait, what is this movie? I've never heard of this movie. And it's some independent movie with fantastic actors that somehow ended up online somewhere, or, you know, on Netflix or wherever, and you just never heard of it before. And that's, you know, our challenge today is because there's so much content, is when you do, you know, when you make these little movies, is to get them out there, get them seen. So a lot of the films that I've made, and I've lost count at this point, I mean, it may have been like 40 at this point, most people probably have never seen them, because they're just hard to come by because there's so much content. It's just you would need to know about it, look it up, find it, and then watch it. It's not you're just looking for something and it pops up. It's just constantly we're bombarded with, you know, new material, which is great, but it's also a challenge on the other side.
So we've traveled the world together, and after each trip we text each other. So it's like, oh my God, remember this, remember that, remember this. So we've been having a really good time today. What are the best? What's been the best of today so far? I mean, I know we saw like
this, talking to you guys. No, I mean really, thank you. It's a great opportunity to sit here and to actually hear your voices, because, you know, when I'm on screen and I'm doing something, and I don't go online to go and see what everybody's saying about me, because I would probably never get out of bed, to be honest with you. If people are saying terrible things about me and how, you know, what a crappy actress I am or something like that, I would never get out of bed. So I don't do that. I protect myself against it. But so I don't have that interaction on a daily basis, like did it work, did it not work? I don't read reviews, so I'm mostly in a vacuum. But sitting here with you and getting a real understanding of who you are and what you enjoy and all of that is really very meaningful to me. So thank you so much.